Yesterday, President Donald Trump appeared to be backing away from a tweet that he made last week, calling to change the age limit to buy firearms. Last Thursday, he tweeted, "I will be strongly pushing comprehensive background checks with an emphasis on mental health. Raise age to 21 and end sale of bump stocks." But after he failed to mention the changes during a meeting with the nation's governor yesterday, many speculated that the president was backing down, perhaps because of pressure from the NRA. But today, White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders says that's not true.
The president still supports raising the age limit to 21 for the purchase of certain firearms. We're meeting with bipartisan members of Congress tomorrow. We expect that to be a topic of discussion. He knows that everybody doesn't necessarily agree. We're not going to get into the details on the specifics of what we will propose, but we expect that to be part of the conversation tomorrow.
Now, another big story tonight, the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, has had his security clearance downgraded. He will no longer have access to many of the sensitive documents he was once able to see, and he's not the only one. All White House aides working with top secret clearance have been downgraded to the secret level. Joining me right now, Lenny Steinhorn, American University professor, political analyst. What do you make of this? Jared Kushner at one time was getting top secret, stuff in front of his eyes. Now he can't get this. Is this punishment? Is this recognizing that they were making a mistake all along? What do you make of this?
Well, after that case of the aide who had that sexual assault with his spouse came out and he didn't have full security clearance because of that, everybody took notice that lots of folks in this White House didn't have top secret security clearance. That made people nervous because if somebody can be compromised and they have access to secret information, that puts our own government and our country in a difficult situation. Already there's some evidence, Bruce, that some other countries were looking at Jared Kushner, some of his overseas financial entanglements, his financial and economic difficulties, and the fact that he didn't know much about foreign policy, and they were looking to exploit some of that. So we don't know what the specifics on Jared Kushner's situation are, but you want to make sure that everybody who's in the White House has access to top secret material, is fully vetted, and doesn't have any potential issues with other countries pressuring them.
Well, this sounds like a lot, but coming pretty late, don't you think? I mean, they've been in there for 13 going on 14 months now, and they've seen all of this sensitive information. And now you decide, wow, you shouldn't have seen that.
Well, look, Jared Kushner's President Trump's son-in-law, inner circle, close confidant, somebody who is in with him during the campaign. The
president trusts him, yeah.
Yeah, so, the fact that the president trusts him is important, but bottom line is that even if the president trusts him, does our national security apparatus feel comfortable with somebody who potentially could be compromised overseas with having that information?
Yeah, Lenny, perhaps the question is, why can't he get top security clearance?
Well, I guess the FBI may know this, and certainly we don't, but the suspicion is that it's overseas financial entanglements and sort of financial difficulties that he has that could have been compromised with connections, let's say with Russia or with other countries. And if they have something over him, if they want to hold something over him, then that compromises him.
Yeah, let's move on. Let me ask you about guns. What's going on in Florida? Is this going to end up being the same old, same old? We get excited about it, we talk about it, a lot of posturing on all sides, and then we go back to our corners? Or is this a tipping point?
I think the real wild card here, Bruce, are the students, the young people, this generation. They are communicating virally on social media. They're organizing marches. They're all of a sudden politicized. I think right now when they see these sort of massacres at schools and at concerts and everywhere in their communities on a sort of weekly, monthly, bi-weekly basis, this is this generation's Vietnam, and they are highly motivated. They're going to do something about it, and they're not going to let go. And they're staking their reputations and lives on it because they're seeing their friends and their peers and their classmates and their teachers and their coaches getting shot down. They don't want that. They don't want to see the carnage. They want to put a stop to this. And so if all they get is lip service, if all they get are half measures, they may not slow down on this. It's the same with the women's movement, the Me Too movement. All of a sudden you have this sort of big wave of energy out there among women, among young people, among people who are feeling that the government is not responding to them. And guess what? When you look at women, when you look at young people, When you look at minorities, that's the Democratic Party's base. And if they do get up and they start voting, which is what the NRA has been able to do all these years, get their people to vote on a single issue. If these folks start voting, they may become a counterbalance.
What about this boycott against the NRA? And the NRA, is fighting back. Republicans in Florida, they're threatening, to take away some of the tax breaks, for Delta Airlines and stuff. What happens there?
Well, look, all of these companies have been dealing with this before the Parkland School. I mean, there have been some push against them to say, hey, you shouldn't be with the NRA. All of a sudden, this has blown up. And a lot of these companies were already feeling some pressure, and now they're doing something about it. Their line on all of this is, look, we want to be neutral on all of this. We don't want to make a political statement. But the bottom line is that they were responding to pressure. But all of a sudden now, the NRA, which is a single-issue group, which has tons of resources, they're putting pressure on these companies.
When it comes to
as well.
guns, you can't be neutral. You got to pick a side.
Really
You got to pick a side. Lenny, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Remember last night, our own